All right. What's good? What's good? What's good, YouTube? This is Stormy B Man out here from the Stormy B Man channel. Welcome to another edition of Friday Night Chop Session. This is the special Kung Fu edition. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk some Kung Fu tonight. We're not going to talk boxing tonight, even though there is some good boxing news that just came on the horizon over the last couple of hours. But we're going to save that a little bit because we have absolutely no intention of covering this weekend's affairs that's happening in the heavyweight division. So, with that being said, some of you may not want to tune in, some may want to tune in with us this evening, but we're just going to talk some Kung Fu films. I am a big fan of the genre. I grew up watching these films, and they've been a part of my life and been a part of my cinematic experience for the majority of my years on the earth. And we're just hoping that there's someone out there that might share those sentiments and have shared the experience and wouldn't mind on a Friday evening chopping it up with Stormy B Man, talking about the Kung Fu film. So, with that being said, I would like to introduce my co-host on the show. Is my brother Hyphy, my right-hand man. What's going on, Hyphy?
Oh man, you know what I'm saying? Gotta say what's up to everybody. Yeah, man, I know we just had a real good treat that just came out. We was cracking up on 78 about the Wilder news, but we gonna take a step back away from that. If y'all don't, like no kung fu, like just show some respect and just gladly nicely just leave, or hey, y'all could listen in if y'all want to learn something about these movies, but just do us a favor. Let's not talk about boxing talk on this one. We trying to bring y'all something different because this is just like me and Stormy. We don't know if we like boxing or kung fu more. So we got a love for this. So we gonna get
Absolutely,
into it.
and absolutely, and I just want to take a moment and acknowledge the people who have joined us, and I have something to say to everyone that's listening. Derek McGee, Clifton Bronson, Sheldon Holmes, Lala D. What's up, my sister? You finally made it. Um, we Broderick Thibodeau. What's going on? We we're talking about kung fu tonight because we had decided we didn't want to talk about what's going to be taking place tomorrow night. And I'll just put this out there and let you all know, if there's an upset, Stormy B Man's going to be all over that on the news. I'll have my post stream and everything like I do for the main fights. But I just don't want to give any airtime on my time to someone who I feel who couldn't be more undeserving. So, with that being said, I could respect if anybody didn't want to hang tonight and talk about kung fu films. And I know a couple of you out there who hadn't had a chance to join me yet, like Lala D. I really respect you stopping in tonight. But if this is not your cup of tea, I apologize. But I did put the reminder out that earlier in the week that this would be the subject content. I just don't want to give those people who have been so disrespectful to our world champion here, I don't want to give them any play. So I'm not giving that any acknowledgement. So with that being said,
And let me add something in.
go ahead.
Hey, just on top of that, I know, recently you had some people talking about, oh, let's do like this boycott regarding, everything Matchroom in the zone. Well, look, that stuff, that's cool and all if it's implemented, but we've been on this stuff, me and Stormy, we've been on this stuff behind the scenes way before that. We've been saying, if y'all notice, we ain't even set that dude's name on none of these streams. We've been on this stuff. Look, I understand everybody like boxing, y'all like to talk boxing, but if y'all really telling me y'all don't like a dude, how can you sit up there and spend hours and hours and hours a day talking or even listening about the dude? Me and Stormy don't do that. We talking boxing when we do talk boxing, so that's what it is, but that's why he ain't getting no play today. Fuck that dude. Let's get into the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is not even a boycott. This is just like I'm not wasting the airspace because is totally undeserving. You know, for the champion that we have doing the things that he's done and how he's approached the sport and his fan base and everything else, there is nothing but 100% uh, respect and support behind that. Any of those other shenanigans, we walk away from, and we walk away from it freely because there's always a lane for foolishness. Okay. And that's just not my cup of tea. So, hey, let's talk some kung fu. I see Lala D said she's going to listen anyway because she just watched the 36 Chambers of Shaolin about 3 months ago. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about, man. 36 Chambers of Shaolin is one of the best kung fu films of all time. Gordon Liu. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mr. Lou.
What do you think about 36 Chambers, Hyphy?
Nah, to me, like you can't even start to say that you like kung fu if you ain't seen that movie. That's like one of the basis movies. You gotta have seen that movie. Yeah, like you said, Gordon Liu. Um, man, I'm glad she's seen that, and I'm glad that's a real popular movie because that's a good movie that people should start out with if they want to get into kung fu. And I'm gonna just let people know it's kind of crazy because I know Stormy is like me. When we be like on streams and chats, listening to boxing, I'll be in the background watching Kung Fu if I'm at home. And I know Stormy, you be doing the same, huh?
Yeah, man. Sometimes I have a movie playing while we're doing the live streams, and sometimes when I make my videos, I even have something playing because I just like to watch the movies, man. And I have so many. I think in my personal collection, I have over 1,000, maybe close to 2,000 titles. So, and that's quite a bit.
What's up to you? Just some of the brothers in the building. I see Focus Ball in there, Mr. Toot Robinson, Clift, and some other dudes, hanging in there, gonna listen to this different topic. But yeah, man, I don't know if I like kung fu or boxing more. I should say love at least. We love some kung fu. Y'all just heard Stormy say he got a huge collection of movies. I watch kung fu movies so much it's not even funny.
Yeah, man. Um, what would you say is your favorite kung fu film, Hype?
Man, see that's not even fair. That's not fair, Stormy. And the reason why, if you like me, you could have a certain kung fu actor that you just been liking as of late, or you could have that one movie or you haven't seen it in a while, and then just out of nowhere you just find yourself watching it over and over again. Lately I've been watching Seven Steps a lot lately.
Which
That,
one?
that seven Steps of Kung Fu.
I just watched that about a month and a half ago.
Yeah, man. That man. If y'all want to talk about just like some high quality fight scenes, I definitely recommend that one.
Yeah. The end fight is excellent there, where they had to take on their brother. They that end fight scene, it was awesome.
Man, yeah. Man, I just love that movie so much. Just the fight scenes. Like even Tommy Lee was in there. Um, just some dope scenes, man.
Yeah, and Ricky Ching. Ricky Ching was one of the guys that played in the Chinese Super Ninjas. He was one of the
Yeah,
guys that fought toward the end. That survived. He was actually the one that the girl fell for. The
yeah,
ninja
and he
lady.
and
She
he yeah
fell for
stabbed her.
him in there.
Sinji,
And
Sinji.
yeah, but Ricky Chen, he was from Taiwan, and he was actually a very very good martial artist and acrobat, and he fit right into the rest of the Venoms. But for whatever reason, he didn't hang in there as long as the core members, because there were like 7 core members of the Venoms. But Ricky Ching was every bit as talented as any of those guys.
Hey, Ricky Chan, he was like one of the most athletic, actors from that time. If you ask me, I see the brother Marlo's Corner is up in here. He
Yeah,
just
and it
fell in the
says
building.
Marlo just subscribed to the channel. What's up, Marlo? Thanks for subscribing, brother. I don't know if you know much about kung fu, but if you do, you're more than welcome to chop it up with us.
Yeah, we this is just specifically a kung fu chat. We're really not going to talk boxing on this one. So, y'all more than welcome to, just stay around and listen in. We'll give y'all some movie recommendations, or, if not, we'll catch y'all next time. But, we just want to at least let you guys know this is not going to be about boxing, and, just ask you guys just to, respect it on this one.
Yeah, and to get back to that, the Chinese Super Ninja film, man, that's one of the best Shaw Brother films of all time, dude. I remember the first time I saw that movie, I didn't see it at the theater. I actually saw it on a like a Super Samurai Sunday or something on a local station here in the Shy, and I came in on the middle of the movie, and I saw these guys fighting. They were fighting the elements: water, fire, earth. It was like, oh, this is kind of different, because I hadn't seen the film, and I was chomping at the bit to pick up the old VHS, because that's what it was back then, so I could go back and watch the movie from the beginning. And it was one of those that I really fell in love with, because the special effects, even though they were a little bit hokey, you could actually see what they were trying to do. Like in certain scenes, they like the ninjas came out of the trees and stuff, and they were fighting those guys, and they put the hooks in the guy's arms and legs and pulled his arms and legs off. I was like, whoa, what is going on?
That's
That
what
kind of stuff like that
yeah.
always freaked me out, man. I was like, these guys are they're going crazy, man.
Hey, they used some, just they used the weapons in that one, and it was like you said, like the dudes coming out the trees, the other ninjas who was coming out the water, and I even liked the first scenes where they like snuck into their home, and like how they just hopped the wall and everything and came over. Even that part was dope. I'm gonna get off the mic so I can let my brother Curtis Anderson, who just fell in the building. I'm gonna let him go. We talking just strictly kung fu, brother. So I know you got a lot to say about it. Welcome.
Yeah,
Hey,
what's
what's
up,
going
Kurt?
on?
Welcome, brother. How you
How you
doing
feel,
this evening?
Stormy B? Hey, what's going on with you, man?
Well, it's all good, man. It's all good. We got a few people out there in the chat that have decided to roll with us, Kurt. We put the word out that we're only talking kung fu movies tonight, and we still have some faithful out there. So let's give them something, man. Talking about these good old kung fu films from our favorite genre, man.
Well, you know, I mean, everybody know me for my boxing knowledge runs very deep, and I'm also knowledgeable in kung fu movies. They're my pride and joy. I've been collecting kung fu movies for a very long time. I love them, man. I love them. I like boxing more, but kung fu is right up there with you got boxing and kung fu and music. I collect all three. I've been watching them since I was like 6 or 7 years old. Seven Blows of the Dragon, and one arm boxer, professional boxer, Triple Irons, um, Five Fingers of Death. They were very successful movies in the United States. I used to go see them in Patterson, New Jersey, before I moved to Newark, at the Fabian Theater and the Plaza. Sonny Chiba movies, along with, of course, obviously Bruce Lee. It cost 75 cents to get in. 50 cent big old bag of popcorn for 50 cents. That was good old days.
Man, that
And as
was
I
the
got
good old
older,
days. Hey, Kurt,
I actually,
even though
yeah.
I'm here in the Shy, didn't you guys have a certain theater that would show like three or four of the movies at one time, and then like you could go in when the movie theater opened up and you come out later that night because you watched four movies? Did y'all have that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we had what you call 42nd Street in New York was called the Deuce. It was a happening spot, and they was famous for showing kung fu movies. You could look at the highlights outside the theater and the little TV they had set up, like it was like into the wall of the theater, and everybody used to huddle around, watch excerpts of the movie. And if you never heard of the movie, or the movie first hit New York, which on most cases that was the case, people used to huddle around, but like, oh man, I'm going to see that now. That's how
Yeah.
they got their money. That's how they got their money, you know, because they called me a bunch of times. You know, one of my favorite movies, and you know, before I go on, when I was young, I used to go to the Sun Sing movie theater. It was strictly Chinatown. The movies wasn't subtitles. The Sun Sing movie theater and the Bari movie theater, because I was taking up kung fu martial arts at Peter Kwan's Kung Fu Academy. Man, I did it all. You know, that's why, you know, when you're an experienced person, you can tell these, you know, explain to people and share your knowledge, which I'm very grateful on this platform. You know, used to get prayer Man's books and, you know, eat with chopsticks. We thought we were Chinese.
Dude, you know what's funny, Kurt? You talking about that, but hell, we were doing that here in the Chi too, man. Listen, we had this dude. He had to be, you know, he was older than everybody else in the neighborhood. He must have been at that time, because I had to be like 9, 10 years old, right? And they used to call this guy Bruce Lee. He used to walk through the neighborhood with one of them black Chinese suits on and them little soft slip-on shoes they wear. And he carried this big old wooden stick, right? And he had this big strut. He would walk down the street and he had a beard. Nobody would ever mess with that dude, man, because he was like the kung fu guy of the neighborhood. And it was funny because he reminded me of that guy in The Last Dragon, Bruce Leroy, you know, he was acting just like that. So it's like when you say what you say, man, it's amazing because this stuff was happening all over the country. Even though you think it's just happening in your town, you're telling me stuff that I'm hearing. I'm like, dude, the same thing was going on over here. It
Hey,
was
hey,
crazy, man.
hey, let me tell you something, man. We took Kung Fu serious because we used to go to this place called Eastside Park. And I'm gonna tell you something. I've seen it with my own eyes. There was this guy they called Tafari in Patterson, New Jersey, and I seen him beat up 6 or 7 cops. He was a master at martial arts. Never went to any school. He had long dreads because at that time, you know, it was Rastafarian. Dreads wasn't
Right.
really in. This was like in the early '80s. You know, I heard he was American, but he practiced Rastafarian, you know, lifestyle way of living. And people used to tell me that. I'm like, man, that's a lie. I was on my way to school one morning and I seen in my own eyes, man, he beat up 6 or 7 cops. He was infamous of doing that. Nobody messed with that dude. You know, I was like, man, he was like a superhero. Tafari. His real name was, yeah, seriously. His real name was Albert Hall. And he lived on 12th Ave. We call 12th Ave Murder Ave because of his violence. This dude was spectacular, man. Nobody in the whole town would mess with that dude. But anyway, you know, you know, some of my favorite movies. It's too many, so I'm just gonna mention some. You know, Masked Avengers, Five Deadly Venoms are my favorite martial artists. You know, Kufag, that was Silver Spear, and Shang Xing was the student. Lo Mang was the toad. I forgot the snake name. I forgot his name. I always forget his name because he wasn't in a lot of movies with the Venoms. He ventured off, you know.
That
And
was
who
Pi something. I can't think of his last name. Pi Ming or something. I can't think of his name.
I'll
But
get it.
yeah,
And
not Pi Mei, not the character Pi Mei, because that's the the white hermit, you know. But his name was Pi something. I can't think of his last name right now.
Pie, yeah. Damn, it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, he was in Kid with the Golden Arm, but you didn't see him a lot. And my
Right.
favorite venom, one of my favorites, or you had Sun Chin. He kicked a lot. The Scorpion. He had the Toad. I mean, the Lizard, Ko Chi. You know, who was always played the nice guy, but in real life was hard to work with. You know, it always seemed to go like that. But Mass Adventures and Invincible Shaolin and Five Deadly Venoms was a huge, it was a very popular movie in the United States. You know, every time it came to the Fabian Theater, it used to sell out, man. That's how popular it was. You know, Avenging Warriors of Shaolin, uh, a plethora of movies. Ninja and the Deadly Trap, Life Gamble, Sword Stain with Royal Blood. I mean, I can go on and on. I don't want to be all night, but that's just some of my memories about kung fu movies.
And you know, just to I guess give the chat kind of idea, you know, we talking about movies that come from the early 70s. That was definitely the golden era. The early 70s. I mean, yeah, it's like the early 80s, but you know, so we talking about movies that are cute, like 40 years old and stuff. But man, even if you watch these movies today, you would just fall in love, man. That's all I watch on my free time, kung fu movies.
Yeah, what was interesting about the kung fu film genre too was that they were quick, low budget movies that were made on basically a dime. You know, they could make these films and churn them out. Like the films could be shot and completed in a half of a month to 3/4 of a month, and then be released to theaters like a month later or 2 months later. And so they were churning them out, you know, and audiences back then just ate them up because they were the action films of that time. And it was like when when Mao opened up China to America, and when Nixon was in the White House, the imported stuff that came from China, you know, like Chinese restaurants and food, cuisine, clothing, film became a part of that. And the films that they sent us were typically these type of films. They were like the anti-Western, you know, because in the Westerns, the cowboys always rode the horses and they shot the guns and they had shootouts and this and that. Well, in the Easterns, they fought with their hands and fists and they didn't use guns. And so it was a different take on things. So American audiences were introduced to this collectively as a new thing. You know, it's just like when something now catches on, like this video game, Fortnite, you know, that's a hot thing, right? Well, that's what Kung Fu was back then. People didn't, you could say the word Kung Fu, people didn't even know what that was. They was like, what is that? You know, is that some kind of food or delicacy or something? It's like they just didn't know. So with the importation of things from China came Kung Fu films. And usually the first ones to hit American soil were from the biggest production company in Hong Kong at the time, and that was Shaw Brothers Studio. And the Shaw Brothers, they churned out movies like they I think they put out like maybe 60 films in a year or something like that, close to that. And they had all types of films. They had love films, they had musicals, they had opera films, they had thrillers and stuff like that. Because there was even one that was kind of a borderline kung fu film, but not really, called The Killer Snakes. Do you ever remember that one, Kurt? Did you ever get a chance to see that? The Killer Snakes?
No.
It was like a Hong Kong take on Ben or Willard. Remember Willard, the movie about the guy who loved the rats?
Yeah, I just saw that last week.
Yeah, well, Killer Snakes was like Hong Kong's version of Willard. It was a guy who loved snakes, and he was running around and putting the snakes on people and stuff. It was like crazy, man. But you know, again, a lot of their films were like knockoffs of what was popular in America, but they put their own spin and flavor to it, and it ended up being a great thing. You mentioned a film a moment ago, Kurt, Seven Blows of the Dragon. Man, that was one of the first kung fu films that I had seen because my dad used to take us to the drive-in every Friday or Saturday night, and I saw Seven Blows of the Dragon, and those guys running around with those ponytails and those funny outfits and everything, jumping 30 feet in the air. I was like, man, these like you say now, superhero movies, that's what that was like back then. A guy fighting with spears and swords stuck in his belly, and he's still taking on 100 men. Man, that stuff was awesome.
Hey, it sure was, man. I mean, like you said, they were our superheroes, man. The 70s, I mean, we didn't know my name, obviously. We just knew him by face. David Chang was one of the guys I recognized immediately in the 70s, when he was starting Triple Iron and Ta Lung, as well. I just didn't know their names at the time, man. But you follow these guys for decades upon decades, and you see me and Stormy, we know them by their real names. So when you know these martial artists by their real names, and the movies, it just becomes a stalwart in your mind, man. And you gotta have a passion for it.
Yeah, I agree, man. And there was a director who was very famous in Hong Kong at the time. His name was Chang Chi, and Chang Chi was he was considered the godfather of kung fu films because he directed so many of them with the Shaw brothers that everybody kind of relayed to him because he knew how to shoot the action that the audiences wanted, and he gave people what they desired. Like if they wanted bloodshed, he gave them that. If they wanted people like one man taking on an army, he gave them that. If it was a group of guys who were bucking the system, he gave them that. Chang Che was a classic director, kind of like what later one of his proteges became with action films much later, John Woo. That was
Right.
actually John Woo's mentor, Chang Che. I want to take a minute to acknowledge we got 78 Sports TV. What's up, General 78? Thanks for joining us, man. Thanks for
Hey,
accepting the invitation.
hey, no problem, bro. I seen I was about to go hit these streets for a minute, man, but I said I got about 10 minutes. Y'all talking about kung fu movies. We gotta do that.
Oh, yeah. You remember I had sent you an email a while back. I said, man, we're going to have to talk Kung Fu one day. And so instead of talking boxing tonight, because I don't want to talk about that other guy,
Right.
I said, we're going to make tonight a night we talk Kung Fu. So I thought I would send you a link. And if you was available, you were free to come on and talk about what you remember, what affected you most about the whole genre of Kung Fu films.
Oh, for
Feel
sure. Hey,
free.
and thanks for having me on. Salute to my brother Curtis Anderson and Hyphy in the building. What's happening, brothers?
Yo, peace, 78.
Oh man, just chilling, man. All right, so yeah, we had for me, man, like, bro, I grew up on kung fu movies. Um Five Fingers of Death was one of my favorites, man. Not really the skill set of the actual actors, but the storyline. I love the storyline. Five Fingers of Death. What was it? Fist of the White Lotus. I love that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then what was the other one? There's a few of them that I really like. My favorite was um it was a movie called from Jackie Chan. One of the few Jackie Chan movies I liked, called Dragon Fist. Y'all remember that?
What was that?
Dragon.
Dragon Fist.
Yeah, I remember Dragon Fist.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. I like that storyline too. From there, that was cool. What else? 36 Chambers, man. Come on. 36
Hell
Chambers.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
sir.
yeah,
Hey, we got
36
Lala
Chambers.
D out in the chat, 78, and she said she just watched that a little while ago, not too long ago. And I told her, I say, oh boy, you saw something good when you saw 36 Chambers, because that's a classic, man.
Yeah, yeah. 36 Chambers is the truth, man. And but you gotta be careful because I think they went back and renamed a lot of those movies. It's like 36 Chambers now. Some of
Yeah,
Yeah,
them movies,
they rename them and stuff, and they confuse you with Return of the 36th Chamber and
right.
Disciple of the 36th Chamber. But the last one I saw wasn't too good, but the first two with Gordon Liu, man, is outstanding. When he didn't know Kung Fu, but he tied you up with those vines, man. I love that movie.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Hmm.
And I like the Venom films too. It don't even matter which one it is, because I think they made about 12 films together, the five Venom
Right,
guys.
right.
And they had one that was called the Magnificent Ruffians, where they were all like
Oh, that's my
acrobats.
movie. Oh man.
Man, They were cold as hell, man, with their acrobatics. Each one of them specialized in something. You know, like one of them had specialized with a spear. He could flip that spear around and do all these things. And the other guy, he could like do these acrobatic moves. I think that was Ching Shing, the one who ended up dying before everybody.
Yeah, the student, Shang Shing.
Yeah, they just were excellent, and man, they worked so well off of each other. You know what I mean? And they choreographed their own fight scenes in their movies, and they were just astonishing to look at, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm gonna tell y'all, man, this is a film I highly recommend. Five Super Fighters. That's one of my favorites because the one-liners in that movie or a lot of kung fu movies was crazy because it was a guy that came to town and you didn't do anything to him. He just started trouble with you. And usually there's a storyline, like 78 said, but the guy that teaches come out there and says, why are you picking on us? He said, I'm here to correct your kung fu. So he said, what's your name? So he said, where you from? So the guy said, I'm from a place called hell.
Hey, 78, which one of them female kung fu actors you used to like the most?
You know what? Let me think back. It was one. I think she was in. Matter of fact, she was in. Let me turn my phone on mute, man, because these brothers texting me like crazy. It was. She was. I think she was in five. Not Five Fingers of Death, but the Fist of the White Lotus. The one who was teaching. She was teaching. Hong Wei Ting. That was his name in the movie. She was teaching Hong Wei Ting the little female style.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was trying his best to beat the Lotus Chief. Man, the Lotus Chief was the coldest, man. This dude, like, man, he said, I remember he was whooping dude. He said, how dare you challenge me with your so-called kung fu, and then slap the shit out of him. Man, it was hilarious. He was just laughing at dude, man. It was hilarious. But that's my favorite one though, man. Because I like the Tiger Crane technique. I was a kid, boy, I swear I used to practice that. I thought I was gonna be a grand master of Tiger Crane boxing, boy. I'm trying to tell you, man. But yeah, man, it's a lot of them. It was another movie. I'm trying to think. I don't know why I'm having brain farts now.
Yeah, 78. That female you're talking about, her name was Kara Hu. And yeah, she played in a lot of the Shaw Brother movies too. She would either play like a sister or she'll play like somebody who could fight. It depends on what the role called for. But she was a very popular actress too, and she could actually throw down because she was in there. Like she had her own film one time where she starred. It was called My Young Auntie.
That's a classic. That's a classic.
Dude, that is such an awesome film. If you haven't seen her fight in the movie, check out My Young Auntie.
Hey, well, do y'all know where to get the movies that for sure are in English? Because I ordered some one time, thought I was getting a good deal, and they all in Chinese, bro.
That's why it was a good deal.
Hey, 78, do you do Fire Stick?
Nah.
Okay, because if for anybody out there that didn't notice, like the Fire Stick, they got all the Shaw Brother films on Fire Stick now, and they're in English, man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like you could pull up any title almost, and they got them in there now, all remastered and everything. They look like brand new films. They've totally cleaned them up.
I'll find out for you 78 about the videos, man. I'll give me like a couple of days, man. I had to call somebody, and I'll let you know. But if you certain cable carriers, they have this channel called El Rey. I don't have that channel.
Yeah, I got El Rey. I'll be watching it every Thursday.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, every Thursday, Shaw Brother movies, man, kung fu.
And I recommend everybody. There's a channel called Wu-Tang Collection on YouTube. Go subscribe to that channel.
Oh yeah, I'm subbed in. I've been subbed in for years. Yeah, Wu-Tang Collection. Hey, what y'all know about this? Ain't necessarily a kung fu movie to be technical, but it's still this martial arts. Man, what y'all know about Shogun the Assassin, man?
Oh,
that is a classic.
Yes.
Shogun Assassin. Are
Dude
you
was the
kidding me?
coldest swordsman I ever seen in a kung fu flick or movie, martial arts movie. This dude walk around with his son, just murking everything moving, anything moving, man.
Yeah, that's a classic. 78. They outlawed that movie in many, many states, man. I mean, countries. They outlawed that movie. That movie is excellent, man. I won't let nobody hold Shogun Assassin.
Yeah.
Well, I got a little tidbit for you guys. If you didn't know this, okay, 2 years ago, they remastered Shogun Assassin, and actually, Shogun Assassin was a compilation of several films that were made at the time, starring that Japanese warrior guy, the
Right.
Shogun, and they made a compilation and made it into Shogun Assassin for international release. But he actually made like 6 films. So Criterion just released that on Blu-ray, all 6 films, including the original Shogun Assassin, in a box set. Criterion, like 2 years ago, and I picked up a copy. It's excellent, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna snatch them up, man. I'm gonna go back and snatch if I can find them on like blue. I'm still on Blu-ray
You
DVD.
could
I know.
go on eBay. You could go on eBay because they,
Yeah.
you could get it cheaper. But the 5, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 films. You got The Sword of Vengeance, Baby Cart in the River Styx, Baby Cart to Hades, Baby Cart in Peril, Baby Cart in the Land of Demons, and White Heaven and Hell. Those are the 6 films that he made, plus the original Shogun Assassin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome films, man. And that little boy in the cart, when his dad was fighting and stuff, there was weapons in the cart. He had a machine gun in there. He had swords that would come out the wheel, so he'll push the cart into a crowd of people, and the boy pressed the button, and the swords come out the wheel and cut the guy's legs off. I was like,
Yeah. Straight
that
killer.
was awesome, man.
Yeah, he was straight killer, man. There's a lot of good ones, man. Back in the day, man. I gotta go back because a lot of them I don't remember their names. Like when I was in New York as a teenager, a lot of my boys they was like heavy into kung fu flicks, right? And that's back when they used to have them on VHS tape, and you can go to like the corner store and get them, And man, we sit up in there in the house all day watching different kung fu movies, man. And it's half of them wasn't even in English, but we somehow understood what they was talking about, man. Crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about these films, because even though a lot of them, they were subtitled when they got originally released, and then English dubs came later, you still had an understanding like what was going on. It wasn't hard to follow the plots,
Mm-hmm.
and usually the main thing about a kung fu film, if they have a scene in a tea house, it's gonna be a fight. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
in a tea house, there's gonna be some murdering going down in that tea house, man.
Hell
Hey,
yeah.
you know what I never understood about Five Deadly Venoms, bro? I never understood why they went and they all met up at their town and they was all undercover. I don't understand why they didn't just all link up and just, what I'm saying, and just go get them bread from old boy. I didn't understand why they doing them murked them, and they doing all this sneaking around shit. I didn't get all that. I didn't understand why they became enemies instead of if they part of the same crew. I don't get it.
Well, remember what it said at the very beginning when they were training, they didn't know each other.
Right, you're right.
Because they all trained with masks on. They just knew what the other one's style was. So when they all went into that village, they kind of like didn't know who the other guys were, but 2 of them had hooked up,
Right.
And that was the centipede and the snake.
Mm-hmm.
So they became partners in arms.
Centipede was a savage motherfucker, man.
Sure was.
That motherfucker was a savage, bro.
Yeah, he was. He
always played a bad guy. Always play a bad guy. The only time he played a good guy was in Ninja Deadly Trap, but he was calm.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, what's that movie, Stormy, when he told the guys, he said, do you want to try my technique? And so the guy said, "I'll try." And he pointed to him. He's like, "That's a good man right there. He's going to kill his ass."
I think that might have been 2 champions of Kung Fu. I think.
Nah, that was something else. I forgot, but he always played a bad guy. His real name was Lou Feg, but you know, he was Silver Spear and kid with the golden arm, but you know, he always played a bad guy. But I like the movie the way it's set up because they had different personalities. The Lizard was the good guy. Scorpion was a snake because he tried to get everybody to kill each other.
Right.
So they had different personalities. Like you said, Centipede, he was savage.
Yeah, Centipede was like that was my favorite one. I ain't gonna lie, man. Dude was just. Yeah, I like dude as an actor, man. He always a bad guy, man, like you said, but he played that shit perfect, man. That motherfucker always cold, man.
And they had those ways of killing people that was tripped out. Like when they killed that dude who tricked on them, they said, "We got master ways to kill too." And he stuck that rod up his nose,
Yeah.
punching his brain.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, these guys, like 78 said, was straight savage, man. The way they was doing stuff and the way they killed the toad, man. They put him in that thing. They called it the Iron Maiden with those needles to break
Oh man, yeah.
his iron skin.
Yeah,
Man.
I hate watching that part, man. That's like watching Mike Tyson lose to Buster Douglas. I hate watching that part. Every time that part come up on that movie, I always fast forward it, dog. I'm like, man, I hate it.
Hey, and wait a minute. That wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was when they put that coat on his back that they had on those hot coals.
Yeah.
And they took the thing and put it on his back and burned him. I was like, man, these guys are straight up crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love the storylines, like 787 and the one-liners. You know, I have no weak spots.
Yeah.
When he bust out that torture, the needle torture, and he says, "You can't keep me. I have no weak spots." And the weak spots turn out to be his ears. And the Scorpion knew it, but you didn't know who he was. But remember in that movie, Snake, he was treacherous, but he was already rich. He was rich.
Right, just greedy.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was just greedy. They sent him in there to kill the old teacher, remember? When they wanted to get that map. And he went in there and he killed all those people in that house, man.
Mm-hmm. Hey, y'all. Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I'm finna go kick with the fam real quick. But I'll get
No problem, man.
All right, peace.
Thanks for stopping by, bro.
No doubt.
All right,
shoot. One leaves and one come in. Salute to the I am ill will.
Salute to the chat, to the panel. What's going on, fellas? I'm sorry, I was.
What's
late,
up
man.
there, Ill Will? I like that avatar, brother. I like that avatar.
Factuals, sir. Factuals. Facts. Y'all talking about my favorite topic tonight. Ivy told me earlier this week about it, bro. And I had to jump in here, bro. I love, boy. Y'all talking my stuff tonight, bro.
Hey, Shaw Brothers, put it down.
Shaw Brothers, the best that ever did it, bro.
Best movie company.
Yeah, Shaw, yeah, by far, man. You had Ocean Shores, but Shaw Brothers was head and shoulders above everybody. I think Derek Bailey knows something, man, because he said, "Who remember the Cripple Avengers?" Oh, man, that's my movie, man, with the Venoms, man. That's one of my favorites, man. That is one of my favorites. I will kill you with 3 tiger blows. Forrest Tiger, man, I love them movies, man. I could watch them all day, man.
Yeah. So, Will, tell us, what do you? I know you like the Shaws, but do you got a particular favorite that you don't mind chopping it up about right now?
Man, where do I start, bro? So many. Kid with the golden arms, 5 deadly venoms. I don't know. Just
The
the
Kid
White
with the
Lotus.
Golden Arm. I just watched that a couple of nights ago.
Man, I watched it the other day. I watched that, The Drunken Boxer, The Legend of the Drunken Boxer, the first one, the one they did in like 1978, 1977. Then I watched good God, I watched like 4. I was cooking with Hype. Me and Hype was just chilling, and I was watching nothing but Kung Fu movies, bro.
Yeah, man. Kung Fu movies are where it's at, man. When people don't know about that, it's like you have to introduce them to it. I got a favorite, guys, and it's probably one that not a lot of people know about. But if you ever see this movie, you'll fall in love with it. It's called Legend of a Fighter. And Legend of a Fighter stars Liang Jiaoren, the guy who was also known as Beardy and played like a villain a lot in the Shaw Brothers movies. He wore a beard all the time, and he was in a couple of other films like The Thundering Mantis and The Sleeping Fist and those films. He's the guy that had the beard, and he always did the he had a fist style. He fought with his fists a lot, and he was very athletic. But he in Legend of a Fighter, he was playing the character that Jet Li made famous in his films, Fearless. He was playing Ho Yun Chao, and the movie also stars Karada as the Japanese guy who teaches him martial arts as a little boy, and then later on he has to face his teacher in a death match. Dude, it's one of the most awesome films. The story is excellent. The choreography is excellent. If you ever get a chance, look for it. And for those who are out there listening in the chat as well, it's called Legend of a Fighter. It is one of the best kung fu films of all time.
Absolutely, man. I'm gonna piggyback off him, man. Carl Lang was one of my favorites. He was in this movie called The Victim, which is absolutely terrific, and he played the villain and 60-second assassin. Slash, my life is on the line. That end fight right there is awesome, man. But Carl Lang, man, Beardy, he's called, man, is terrific, man. And plus, he was a sex symbol in China too, along with Alexander Fuxing, who died tragically in a car accident. He was in a movie called The Chinatown Kid. He was fighting a toad in Life Gamble. That's a good movie as well. So man, I can go on and on, man. But like Invincible Shaolin, man, when Lo Mang, who's the toad, kept messing up the eggs doing his push-ups, man, that was hilarious, man. Yeah, I thought they were very he said, I love eggs, and he kept messing up the eggs and kept eating eggs. I just love the movies, man, the storylines.
Man, yeah. And just the people in the chat, like once again, y'all got to remember, these are like dubbed movies from the 70s, but it just makes it so much funnier, man. Like these are just classic movies. The last one I watched was 10 Brothers of Shaolin.
I remember that. I have that also in my collection. That starred a whole bunch of guys who were they were like secondary co-star players or whatever in other films, and they all came together because most of those guys were actually really martial artists in real life. So it was easy for them to come together and do fight scenes and stuff like that. But some of them were basically stunt men. With 10 Brothers of Shaolin, it gave them a chance to have like an ensemble. And that's one of the great things about Kung Fu films too, is that there were a number of ensemble films where they had like 3 to 5 to 10 guys in the movie starring, and they all would get a moment to shine and do their thing. You remember those films, guys?
Absolutely.
Hey, Clifton said he still got VHS collections.
So do I. I have a collection of about maybe 50 to 60 Kung Fu films on VHS that I refuse to throw away because they were very hard to acquire at the time that I got them. So I still have a VHS player where I could go in my basement if I want to put those on and I could watch them. But I won't throw them away. And I told my wife, if I die, don't throw them away.
Hey, I'm going to tell y'all my favorite saying from a Kung Fu movie. I remember they was in a restaurant and the guys walked outside and they looked at this dude that was sitting out there. That's like, who are you? He said, my name is Beggar Sue.
Damn, that's on the tip of my tongue. It's that I was just talking about him. He always funny in all the movies he in.
World of the Drunken Master.
Yeah, he was supposed to be watching what's his name? He was supposed to be watching him sit on the chair and he fooled his ass.
That movie's a fucking classic, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm sorry,
You
that
know,
movie's a classic, man.
sure is, man. I mean, Two
World of
Champions of
fucking math.
Shaolin was good. 10 Tigers of Kwai Tong. You know, one of my top 5 movies all time, Mystery of Chess Boxing. Because I heard
Yeah,
they was
that's a good
brothers,
one.
but I don't think they was brothers. It was Jack Long and Mark Long. You know, Mark Long was Ghostface Killer, the MC from Wu Tang got
Yeah.
his name, man. He was a vicious villain, man.
Enter the 36 chambers, man. Come on, man. Y'all can't play with me.
One of
Then
the
I
best
started.
things, too, guys, about the Kung Fu films were the training sequences. You know,
Yep.
where
Oh
somebody
yeah.
had to go and learn a new style or something and get put through all these hardships and whatnot, and then have to come out and he had mastered the style. I love that. When Kurt was just talking about the Invincible Shaolin, when they had to, when uh, what's his name, Kurt, the muscular guy, they always
Lo
do the
Mang, the
mantis fist,
Toad.
Lo Mang. Yeah, when he had to learn basically the mantis fist in that film, and the guy had him doing the push-ups over the eggs and stuff, and then he had him tied up with those bungee cord ropes, and he had to walk forward, and he was doing his fist style as he was walking forward, but the bungee was pulling him back, so he had to use strength behind everything to go forward. Dude, all of that stuff was killer, man. Totally awesome, those training sequences.
Hey, yeah,
Yeah.
Derek Bailey just dropped another. Yeah, Golden Harvest did have, they had some shit too.
Oh
Oh man,
yeah.
Derek Bailey, man. Oh man, he
He
took
knows
the
some stuff.
words. Yeah, man, he knows kung fu movies, man, because this was one of the most saddest and poignant movies I ever seen, man. Was The Prodigal Son with Yun Bao. That you talk about Wing Chun, I always was fond of Wing Chun. I love Wing Chun. That's why I like Ip Man's. But getting back to Prodigal Son, the storyline was great. He was in the Peking Opera as a performer, and the master was looking for him. He couldn't fight that long because he suffered from asthma. I believe Samuel Hung was in that movie as well. But that movie was, man, that movie was great. So big ups to Derek Bailey, man. He truly knows his kung fu movies. The Prodigal Son is an excellent movie.
Oh yeah, and Yuen Biao was a excellent martial artist and stuntman too. He could actually physically do some things that some of the other guys couldn't do, and sometimes they would just bring him in to do a certain type of a kick or something. I remember when Jackie Chan did this film with Benny the Jet Urquidez. Um, they actually did 2 films together, but the first film that they did together, it required Jackie to do some kind of a flip in the air, like a somersault, and come out of it with some type of a scissor kick. And Jackie, for as good as he was as a stuntman and an athlete, he couldn't do the kick. Yuen Bao could do the kick in his sleep. So that was one of the few times that Jackie was actually doubled for something, where Yuen Biao did this kick for him against Benny the Jet Urquidez. It's like there's such a rich history to the Kung Fu film, and we will have to revisit this because it's just so much to talk about. And we're kind of like all over the place right now, but it's just exciting to be talking about it because there's just so much to be said behind such a rich genre of film. I want to
Yeah,
take a
man.
moment to say to the chat, could you guys please, whoever's out there, it says we have like over 17 watching. Can somebody push that like button for us so we could get the thumbs up on this stream? Just take a moment out and hit the like button. Um, P Money in the chat also mentions Legendary Weapons of China, another classic. What do you guys think about that? Will, what do you think about Legendary Weapons of China? You a Shaw man.
Man. Well, let one of the other brothers click on that. I'm talking to my wife right quick.
Okay. What about you, Kurt? You remember Legendary Weapons?
I got it in my collection. I'll start to watch it, but instead I watch a Massacre Survivor, a very underrated movie. Yeah, the guy that starred in it, he's also a famed director. You know, You know, the guy. I think he was in Challenge of the Masters as well. You
Yes,
know, yes, he was. Isn't
that
it?
was Pops, better known as Larkar Young.
Right,
Larkar Young
exactly.
is he was a famous choreographer for the Shaw Brothers Studios, and he was the one that discovered the Venoms.
I love that movie. All weapons. If you a weaponry man like I am, you will love you will love that movie. It's strictly for a guy who loves weapons like I do. The Chinese weapons. You know, great movie, man, especially at the end, man. They gave you, because nobody hardly died. So it wasn't that type of movie. That movie was strictly to let you know their skill with weapons. And I love watching that movie, man. I think I'm going to watch it tomorrow. The opening scene is awesome where they taking every weapon, he using it, until, he was an expert at all weapons, but he's a great director, man. I love him in Challenge of the Masters, man. These guys, other movies like Chinese Super Ninjas, man, which is another great movie. But yeah, Legendary Weapons of China, man, great movie, classic.
What do you
Hey, Mike
remember about it,
Hennigan
Hype?
just dropped a good one. Okay, you know what? That one, I'm gonna just be honest. I haven't seen that one.
You got to check it
Yeah, that
out.
one I
Make sure
haven't
you
seen.
put that one down for yourself. Legendary Weapons of China. And I know you want to say
Yeah.
something, but I just want to add this too quickly. It's also known as 18 Weapons of China because the last 20 minutes of the film, you got the two brothers, Lar Kao Yang and Lar Kao Yang. They're fighting and they're both using all of the legendary Chinese weapons against each other, from spears to swords to sickles to staff, everything. They use the entire 18 against one another. And that's what makes the last part of that film so great, because they're showing their martial expertise, because they were both masters of the martial arts. Go ahead, Hype.
No, I want to tell everybody actually, if y'all just interested in like learning about these movies, one, y'all could reference this stream again, or two, just write down at least just like one or two of these movies. Go watch one of them when y'all got some downtime. I promise y'all gonna start loving kung fu the way we do. But Mike Hennigan just mentioned Deadly Styles. That's another one. We got Mike Hennigan in the building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And he mentioned Two Wondrous Tigers. Yes, Two Wondrous Tigers is an excellent martial arts film. You've got Johnny Long, Johnny Wang Lung Wei in there, and you got Beardy in there, and Philip Kofei. Man, it's like these guys. It's funny. Um, it's like they built up a certain type of persona. So sometimes they would be playing the same guy in every movie, but variations of the guy. So it came across like as fresh, but you always knew when you saw a certain guy, oh, he's the bad guy, or he's the, it's like it was just that kind of thing. But you didn't mind because they were so good at what they did.
absolutely, man. Two Wondrous Tigers, another excellent movie. Another movie I want to bring up is Execution of Shaolin, which was excellent. The storyline behind that movie, that was Shin Kun Tai, and who played the son again? Stormy.
Young Wing Lu.
Right, right, right. They had to go back and rewrite that movie. That movie was so popular that the storyline was Pai Mei, was like invincible, and the father went there and he died. So the son went there to avenge his father, and he died. But there was such an outcry that they rewrote the movie because the mother, who knew Crane style, she was the hero. She killed Pai Mei, but they rewrote it, and the son wound up killing Pai Mei. Kung Fu purists didn't like it. But that's the storyline behind Executioners of Shaolin, which is another classic. It was a big hit in America, because the character of Pai Mei, it was family oriented, because, the father and the son, they was close, but they were very competitive, and they used to fight at the dinner table. Yeah, man. I mean, it don't get no better than that. I'm telling you. I'm just blessed to have all these movies on DVD, man. And I think I'm gonna have Kung Fu Day tomorrow until the fight come on.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna do tomorrow too, Kurt. I'm gonna be on probably watching. I'm probably gonna watch 36 Chambers, and then probably watch a Bruce Lee movie, probably Chinese Connection, because I ain't seen it in a minute. But
And,
I'm
Out.
and Kurt, you were just talking about the execution of Shaolin, but there's another film that paralleled it because of its success, and that was Fist of the White Lotus, which had a
that
similar
was
plot and storyline,
my favorite movie right there.
and it also featured Pai Mei. And I love
Hmm.
the scene when Gordon Liu went to attack Pai Mei when he was taking a bath in the hot tub. Dude, that was an awesome scene right there. The way they shot it, because dude was trying to put his clothes on while they was fighting, and he was trying to stick Pame with those needles. Man,
Yep.
that was an awesome film. They were very creative how they shot that stuff,
Their
man.
choreography was just
It
immaculate.
was it
Like
was it was off the chain, man, and
it,
he kept sticking him with that needles. He was what he was doing. He was hitting nerve system. That's why he would laugh and cry. And dumb people who was watching the movie with me, they was like, I can't understand why he's laughing and crying. I was like, holy smokes, and I was like,
he
he
really
hitting
got
his
studied
nervous
Chinese
system.
history,
I
bro.
Yeah,
was
he was hitting
I
like
hate
it was
watching
like acupuncture.
Yeah, them needles
right.
can cripple you, bro. You remember what when Jet Li did what was that movie? He did it and he was a cop, or no, he was a cop, but all he used were needles to paralyze people. And at the end of the movie, the bad guy he stuck a needle on his neck and made his heart made him have a
I
heart
just
attack.
seen that one.
What's the name of that movie?
Damn, I just seen that one. That was in a different country too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because I think
Yeah,
somebody killed his brother or something like that.
yeah.
What's
He
the
was like,
name of that
yeah. They
movie?
kind of like framed him at the end or something.
Dang, I want to say it's the Kiss of the Dragon or something like that. It had dragon in the name of it.
Yeah, that was Kiss
A-
of the Dragon. Kiss of the Dragon.
And let me I want to ask y'all a question, and just give the chat some good backstory, especially for you and Kurt, because we live in a different era now, but y'all used to have. Tell them about the kung fu theaters back in the day, like just specific kung fu theaters.
Oh man, like I said, man, in Patterson, New Jersey, you had the Fabian movie theater that they used to show triple headers, man. And it was always packed. And the movies became so popular that they used to outshine American movies. Because when there was a kung fu movie there, all your friends would be there on Sunday night, and school would be the next day. Then sitting up in the balcony, drinking Wild Hours Rose and Old English and weed, it didn't have chemicals in it, old school weed in the yellow envelope, man. And you used to, eat and joke. And Kung Fu movie used to cheer for the hero. When Bruce Lee was there, man, people went nuts. Sonny Chiba or Gordon Liu, they all became they had this connection with the urban community, man, that I couldn't put my finger on. And then on the other side of town, you had the Plaza. See, they was competing movie theaters, and the Plaza used to show kung fu movies, man. I used to see kung fu movies on the old 42nd Street in New York called The Deuce, and subtitled movies when I was into martial arts
Hey
was the
Kurt,
Sons.
sorry to
Yeah.
cut you off, bro. Did y'all have like? Cause I remember when I was a kid, man, and I'm 40. I ain't that young. Um, I remember looking at the Saturday afternoon matinee. They used to play nothing but kung fu movies at 12 o'clock. And it used to come on here. I'm from Georgia originally, but in Georgia, it used to come on Channel 21, and then it come on every Saturday afternoon. I watch kung fu from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock every Saturday, like clockwork,
Oh,
man.
oh, definitely, man. We had that. I want to address what Derek Bailey said. Derek Bailey, you from Newark? He said, tell them about the Adams downtown Newark, Kurt. Oh, man, it was wild, man. The Adam movies did. Everything went on in there. Everything went on in there. It was crazy. The old Adams movie theater. Damn. They had the Ritz and Elizabeth, and it was just your memories, your childhood memories. I remember, and then you start practicing kung fu after you saw the movie. You stare at the poster for it seemed like days, but 20 minutes you just stare at the poster. So you know, that's my memories and recollections of kung fu theaters.
Yeah, I want to take a minute and address a question in the chat where Mike Hennigan said he never understood why Fist of Fury was also known as the Chinese Connection. I can explain that very simply. When Bruce Lee's two films were imported to the US, it was actually after he had passed away because he died in 73 and those films got released in the US in 74. Uh, the films were shipped as The Big Boss and Fist of Fury. And The Big Boss was Bruce Lee's first Hong Kong kung fu film, and Fist of Fury was the second film. But for American audiences, like they did with so many of the Hong Kong imports, they tried to change the titles of the films to get a better grasp of the audience, like to be more catchy to the audience. And back in 74, the popular US film was called The French Connection. Okay. And so when Bruce Lee's film The Big Boss was brought over here, it was supposed to be called The Chinese Connection because it had a drug element in it, right? With the Big Boss, you know, killing people and putting the dope in the ice and all of that. Well, the films got switched. The titles on the cans, they got switched up. So The Big Boss became known as Fist of Fury, and Fist of Fury became known as The Chinese Connection. So that's what that screw up was with the titles of the film, and it basically just stuck. And it was funny because that was never the original intent, but that's how it happened.
Interesting.
That's just like also Angela Mao, who was very popular in the early 70s when her films came over here. One of her great films, Lady Whirlwind, was retitled Deep Thrust. And that was on the heels of an X-rated film with Linda Lovelace called Deep Throat. And because she was the star of the film, a female star, and the Hong Kong films in certain regions of the US were either rated R or even rated X for violence, Angela Mao's films got played in X-rated movie houses. And they raked in a ton of dough. The people were disappointed that it wasn't a porn, but they were happy with this gratuitous action that came from Hong Kong that they had never seen before. So Lady Whirlwind took in, I think, almost $5 million for Golden Harvest Studios in 1974, late 1974, when it was released here. And sad to say that Angela Mao never enjoyed any of the proceeds from that film because the producers over in Hong Kong always took the lion's share of everything, and Raymond Chow was a real bastard, and he kept all of that from her, and she never knew that she was a star in the US until she and her husband moved to the US in the mid 80s after she retired from the Hong Kong film industry.
And just to, I gotta, put my little plug in. The lady in my avatar, that's Angela Mao.
Yes, sir. That was my first love, Angela Mao.
Don't forget Lily Lee. I used to love Lily Lee. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Lily Lee. But
hey, Kurt, funny that you mentioned Lily Lee. I got a little tidbit about her too. Quiet as it's kept. Bruce Lee died in 1973, and Lily Lee's career was taken off with the Shaw Brothers right around that same time because she was one of the new actresses that they had found to drive their films forward in the industry for Shaw's. Bruce Lee had a mistress. Her name was Betty Ting Pei. And on the night that he supposedly died or whatever, he died in her home or whatever. But Bruce Lee had actually broken up with Betty Ting Pei, and at the time of his death, they were no longer lovers or an item or whatever. Fact of the matter remains, it was probably some foul play that went on with him being brought to her house, possibly when it was discovered that he was dead. But long story short, Lily Lee was Bruce Lee's mistress shortly before he died. And they weren't together long enough for anybody to really have caught them with photos or anything like that. But that is a rumor that she will not answer to this day. She's still alive. But that was his new mistress, Lily Lee.
Bruce Lee was an interesting character, but just a little off topic, one of the James Bond movies had one of the five deadly venoms in them. Which one was that? Quantum of Solace? Which movie was that, Stormy? Where
That had the one that had the Asian actress in it.
Yeah, Cool Chi was in one of James Bond movies.
Oh, that was Tomorrow Never Dies. That
Tomorrow
Coach
Never
was in.
Dies. Man,
But
I get so.
back in the 70s, Live and Let Die was the film where Pearl Chung, who was later known as the grandma landlady in Kung Fu Hustle,
Right.
she was in Live and Let Die with Roger Moore when he was playing James Bond, and they went to Japan or China or something, and there was some action scenes there, and there was like this guy, Inspector Lowe or whatever. That Inspector Lowe role was supposed to go to Bruce Lee, but he had died, and they reduced the role to a small speaking part for that guy that played it in that movie. But if Bruce Lee had lived, he would have had a larger role in the film, and he would have had some action scenes because it was coming on the heels of Enter the Dragon, and he was going to be very popular after Enter the Dragon got released, which did happen.
Right. A lot of people don't know that Bruce Lee was the victim of discrimination because he was, the producers told him, the American producers told him that, he would be the leading, role in a major TV series, which was be called The Warrior. So the higher up said, nah, I don't think America is ready for Asian to be a lead actor in a major TV series. So they cast David Carradine and they changed the name to Kung Fu. And that really bothered Bruce Lee a lot, man. So he was the victim of discrimination. He had movies like Sydney Green Street. Remember that one, Stormy?
Yes.
With James Franciscus, who was later, or at that time was a student, along with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and I believe Steve McQueen.
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah. I
Oh,
am
okay.
Will.
Everybody was quiet.
Are you
Yeah, I'm
available?
still
I
here.
am Will. You there?
I'm good now. I'm good now. I'm driving home. But yeah, man, y'all talking about some great. I just have a flood of memories when I just hear about all the kung fu movies. I remember being at my grandfather's house. Kurt, you remember when they had the big old satellites where you had to go outside and turn it in a different direction, just in
Yep.
order for you to get channels? My
Yep.
granddaddy had one of them jumps, bro. And I remember going over. I used to spend out at my granddad's house all the time, and he was the biggest. He had to be one of the biggest Bruce Lee fans I've ever seen in my life. Like any Bruce Lee movie, anything with Bruce Lee in it, he was on it. And I watched. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times I watched Chinese Connection. That movie was his absolute favorite. I just love
Jet
kung
Li.
fu, man.
Jet Li made a remake of Chinese Connection. It was called another great movie, Fist of Legend. That's probably my
Oh yeah, I
favorite.
love that movie too.
My favorite, Yacht Fist of Legend. When he fought that general, that was a great, duel, man. But the Japanese martial artist, he was in Heroes of the East, where it was Japan versus China, a movie called Heroes of the East. Shaolin challenges the
That's where
ninja. His name
Akira got
was
his origin from.
Yusaki Karada. He was great, man.
Oh yeah,
Well,
interesting fact. My first duty station, I was stationed in Japan, and when I lived in Japan, all I would watch all the time was kung fu movies, both Japanese and Chinese, and it was dope. Dope, just just all the movies, like stuff I never heard of. I still got movies that people probably here in the States ain't never heard of. It just, boy, it just brings back a flood of memories just thinking about all that stuff that I used to get to watch, man. That TV's not the same as it used to be.
Let me take a moment here, guys. I want to tell you guys a little bit about my favorite film, my absolute favorite kung fu film, and I'll tell you why. And then when we go from there, I would like you guys to try to give a rundown of how you would, you know, consider a particular title to be your favorite. My favorite film is Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury, also known as The Chinese Connection in certain parts of the world. Um, Fist of Fury, to me, was it. Not only was it a dynamic action film, but it had to do with racism and oppression, and that whole thing about the people who were being downtrodden gaining victory, you know, and in this case, it was the Japanese putting down the Chinese, which was a familiar sentiment for anyone who could recognize what was happening in America with the civil rights movement and the things that were happening in certain parts of the country and everything. But the one of the reasons why it's also my favorite film is that out of the four Hong Kong films that Bruce Lee was able to complete before he passed away, this one was the most Chinese-like film that he had done. Even The Big Boss, which he had done first, didn't come across like a Chinese film. It came across like a foreign film. Even though there were Chinese actors and Thai actors in the film, The Big Boss just, it didn't have a Hong Kong flavor to it. But Fist of Fury, that's the film that catapulted Bruce Lee to overnight sensation when in Hong Kong, and even wearing the Chinese robes and garbs and stuff like that, and fighting amongst, you know, the Japanese with supposedly Chinese kung fu and everything. But he did it with a flair and a charisma that nobody else had done before. It was like he had his own personality, you know. And when he was taking revenge for his teacher, a lot of people say that his role was like very animalistic and it was one dimensional, you know, or whatever. But I disagree. To me, upon reflection, the character that Lee played in the film, he was like a naive dude, but when he found out it was the Japanese that was responsible for murdering his teacher and he wanted to take revenge, he slipped into like a psychologically deranged guy. He just went over the top, you know, and he went into a stupor and he didn't come out of it until at the very end of the film when he killed the Japanese master and he kicked the guy through the wall or whatever, and the guy flew about 15 feet through the air. By the way, that was Jackie Chan doubling for the Japanese actor that he kicked for that stunt. And he fell 15 feet in the air with no padding or nothing. He hits the ground because you could see him on the camera. It just went through the air and hits the ground. That was actually Jackie Chan who performed that stunt at the age of 20 years old. When Bruce Lee finally kills the Japanese guy, the master, he looks up in the air and lets out this sigh like, it's done. Dude, that was acting that Hong Kong kung fu movies stars didn't have at that time. And that's what set him immediately beyond the other actors and actresses in the industry at that time. And people didn't understand it then. They can look back in retrospect and receive it now. But it was like, here he was amongst his people, standing head and shoulders above them because he had a different psychological aspect and approach to what they were doing. And he was trying to elevate them. And he did in that film. That's why it's his most famous film. And it's like he'll forever be etched in, and that's the one film that he made that has been remade several times. You know, it's like that was his what do you say, his Gone with the Wind, so to speak, of kung fu films. You
And
know.
don't forget, Stormy, the romantic interest he had in the movie, which was a first, and he kissed on screen a woman. Bruce was madly in love with that woman in Chinese Connection,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to add that too.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, some people said like his performance, he was like he just act like a one-dimensional character. He was deranged. No, he slipped into that. He went crazy. You actually saw it before your eyes when he listened to those men talking in that kitchen, and they said, yeah, nobody will suspect a thing, we'll get out of here first thing in the morning, that we poisoned the teacher and everything. And he pushed that door open, and he looked at those guys and he said, so you're Japanese? And the guy was like, yeah, so what, we killed your teacher. And he went crazy, and he killed those two guys, and he hung their bodies from light poles, remember? And then it's like he just decided to go after all the Japanese after that. He didn't care what the head teacher said in the school no more. He wanted to kill all of those guys. He so much that he was sitting in the graveyard at his teacher's tombstone eating eating a rabbit roasted over a fire. He was sitting there like a complete savage. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
he had went into a stupor, and couldn't nobody pull him out of it till he murdered that final teacher. And then
And
he
don't forget. Oh, go ahead,
go ahead.
Stormy.
No, I'm just gonna
Don't
say, and then
forget.
he returned to his normal self, and he realized what he had done, That's
And
why he
don't forget.
sacrificed himself at the end.
Yep, the many characters he played. He was a very underrated comedic kind of actor. His facial expressions, the telephone man when he was goofy,
Yeah.
the guy was selling newspapers when he was like an elderly man. The way he would look at the screen and look away, and he used to crack us up, man. Bruce Lee was very underrated as an actor, man. Very good.
Yeah. So what you guys, you got your own personal favorite? Fist of Fury is mine. I can watch that movie. If I was on the island and I only had that movie to watch, I'll be fine with that.
Oh man,
Um,
my favorite. Oh, go ahead, cause I've been talking. Me and Stormy. Go ahead, Hyphy.
nah, man. I was telling Stormy when he first came on. I felt, I'm mad at Stormy for even asking that question. What's your favorite? I swear, these movies, man. I'll watch one, or I just get hooked to a certain actor, and I'll be watching all of his stuff. So I can't answer that question, man. But Kurt, man, I was just telling the chat when we first came on. Like seriously, just tell him your love for kung fu. You don't know which one you love more, boxing or kung fu.
I love boxing more, but it's kung fu is right there. I mean, it's right there, man. I would let you hold money before you hold my DVDs. I will fight you if you don't bring my DVDs back. Word, seriously. I don't lend them. I mean, I take good care of them and stack them and all of that, man. Because this is something that you spend your hard earned money, but you want to have them, and where you get it feels good when you can go to your collection, albeit boxing or kung fu or move. I mean music, and you be like, let me see what I'm gonna watch today. I think I'm gonna watch Mass Avengers, and then after that I'm gonna watch Life Gamble. After that I'm gonna watch Snake in the Monkey Shadow, John Chang, and after that I'm gonna watch Superpower. Now I'm glad Wu Tang Collection on YouTube. If you don't feel like messing with the DVDs, I got Netflix. You can go to Netflix. They got a few on there, and you can go to Wu Tang Collection on YouTube because they got a movie called Superpower that I love. So it's hard to say my favorite, man. Five Daily Venoms. Mystery of Chess Boxing. The World of Drunken Master. Oh man, it's very difficult. Cripple Avengers, which is known as Mortal Kombat. Don't forget Death Master, the Ninja, Iron Fingers, or the Ninth Prince. Oh, it's hard to say, man. Ten Tigers of Quake Tongue. I can
This
go
is
on
how
and
this is
on.
how I would defend it. This is how I would, well, not defend it. This is how I would define it. Which film do you feel you've watched the most?
God, dog, that's even harder because I watch all of them neck to neck.
Well, I
Uh,
know I've seen
Shit.
Fist of Fury a million times, man.
God,
Uh,
dog,
hey,
man.
I am Will. Let's get you in here, brother. We want to hear what you got to
Yeah,
say.
you been quiet, bro.
Come on off of that mute, man. I am Will.
Man, well, hey, I'm glad y'all putting the pressure on him because I don't want to answer that question.
Damn, that's
Well,
that's
the thing about it is the genre has so much to offer. I remember seeing a classic King Hua film that was supposedly, it was even nominated for awards and stuff, but I didn't see it until the 90s. And that film is
Yeah.
called Come Drink With Me.
classic.
It's a classic, and I never saw it, during this heyday and run because it was originally released in the late 60s, but played off and on at certain film houses and film festivals throughout the 70s. But when I finally got a chance to see it, I see why it's a classic. And a lot of themes of kung fu films always revisit certain aspects of Come Drink With Me, even down to what I said about the tea house. Earlier in this discussion, I said about the tea houses. If there's a tea house in a kung fu film, it there's gonna be an action scene. There's gonna be some fighting going on. And no better film displayed that in a modern homage to Come Drink With Me than Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Would you guys agree with that?
I agree with
I see
that.
where you're going. I agree. I see where you're going.
Hell yeah, I do.
I see where you're
And
going.
story, not to get off topic, but every time they like in the tea house, it's always like some dude who went in there, had tea or ate, and he didn't pay, and they get into a fight.
I love them scenes, man. I don't get tired of them. There's just something about them tea houses scenes, man. I forgot my movie, man. Three Evil Masters. Woo! Great movie, man. I
hey,
love the plot line to that.
hey, Kurt.
Yes.
I think that Three Evil Masters has the best opening sequence out of any kung fu movie.
Why you sitting there? They told you to sit over here. So why you sitting there? I'm telling you, man. I can copy. Man, I love them guys, man, because them some dirty rotten scoundrels, and they cool with it. They had a certain type of swagger.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I'll tell you something, man. The ambush, nobody ever did it like the Chinese in a kung fu film. The ambush. Man, if any of you brothers ever seen the Shaw Brothers film Vengeance,
Yep.
dude, that tea house ambush scene where they got Tai Lung, man, that was so extremely violent and everything, man. It's hard to watch.
Man, it's just man, I mean, it's just something about a martial arts movie, man, that just gets to you, man. You got to have a love for it, and Derek Bailey knows it. People in the chat know, man. Derek Bailey, I could tell he knows his kung fu movies, man. I can watch them from morning to night. I can have a marathon, man. It's so many great movies. Heaven and Hell was a very strange movie. This movie was significant. Another one called Opium and the Kung Fu Master because it was dealing with drugs. And see, Chinese don't let you see certain things, but they let you in a little bit. The Opium and the Kung Fu Master.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Um, there was a film
This is
that Chen Kwai Tai did where he was the boxer from Shang Tong.
That's a classic. Oof.
Man, the last 20 to 30 minutes of that film, man, where he's fighting all those guys and they trying to kill him with axes and stuff, man. Man, it was blood everywhere. I think there was blood on my TV screen, man. It was just it was that was an awesome film. Hey, I am Will. We ready you to get in here, bro. Come on,
Yeah,
talk with
I mean,
us.
I'm in the store and it keeps kicking me out. That's why y'all keep
Oh,
seeing me
okay.
jump in and
Hey,
out the chat.
hey, Stormy, what movie is that when it might have been Vengeance where it was raining and Tai Lung and David Chang was fighting all these guys. It was an army and they was using knives. It was blood everywhere.
Duel of the Iron Fist.
That's the one I'm thinking. Me and my sister went to see that at the Plaza movie theater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Wu-Tang Clan, they remade it. They remade that movie.
Yeah, that's a classic too. I love that film. It was one of the first ones that Tai Lung and David Chang played in together. And what was funny about those two guys, they had very good brotherly chemistry on film, but they hated each other in real life. They did not like each other.
Wow, that is crazy, man. That is really crazy because they had a great chemistry together, man. I love
Exactly.
Tai Long, man. I love David Chang and Deadly Menace. I love Tai Long. He was in Ninja and the Deadly Trap, which I seen yesterday, and he was in 10 Tigers of Kwai Tong.
He did a movie for the Shaws, David Chang, called The Roving Swordsman. Man, it's really good. In that film, he played a guy who was a swordsman on a mission, and he was just like, I think that was one of his first starring roles, and what made him a star because he was able to handle it. He was actually a stunt man on the Shaw Brothers side behind the scenes, and they used to call him the Rubber Man because he could do somersaults and stuff like that off of the trampolines very well. But they found out that he could act, and they moved him up into lead roles.
All those martial arts are excellent, man. But one of the very best dudes was Ko Chi of the Venoms, man. He was just on another level, man. He was great. All of them was great. Verity and one of my other favorites, Shin Quintai. You know, he was a bad guy in Mortal Kombat, Cripple Avengers. He played a really good bad guy. You know, but Kuo Chi, man, he was unbelievable. And Lee Yi Min too. You know, when he was young, when he was older, he was in a movie called Life Gamble. He killed Ko Chi in a movie, but all great martial artists, man.
Yeah, Derek Bailey in the chat says, "Who remembers the one-armed swordsman?"
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
we all remember that. Uh huh.
that's the ultimate classic right there.
That's a
Yep.
super classic, bro.
I think that was the first $1 million film for Chang Chi, the one-armed swordsman. It was a take on, uh, the swordsman flicks from Japan, and they came up with the novelty of him being one-armed. And Jimmy Wang Yu was a very he was like an Olympic athlete. He didn't know martial arts, which is why he was always a terrible screen fighter, but he had a little charisma and swag. But when he played the one-armed character in his films, he was so athletic, he could move around and fight and move and stuff with one arm tied up under his clothing as if he had one arm. It was amazing to see him perform some of the feats that he did on film.
That movie was a classic, man. That movie was a classic. Hell, I might even watch that tonight. Ooh, that's gonna be
I
fun.
think we all gonna be watching Kung Fu tonight and tomorrow before the fights.
Yep, that's what I'm gonna be doing. That's what I'm gonna do all day tomorrow. I ain't gotta go nowhere. Woohoo.
So, Will, now that we got you back, man, I got to throw that question back at you. What film would you say is your favorite?
I'm like Hyphy and Kurt, man. I don't really have a favorite one because there's so many good movies. It's so much good content to pick from.
But didn't
I
I
I
hear
can
you
say
say something earlier about Fist of the White Lotus?
Fist of the White Lotus is one of my favorite ones. Kids with the Golden Norms, Five Deadly Venoms, Chinese Connection. Uh, There was one about the fox. I think it was the fox versus the good guy. I think it was the fox versus the fox versus the crane. It was an old movie about different styles. Um, and I actually went to Hong Kong back in like 98, 90, 99, 98. I went to Hong Kong, and it's beautiful there, man. And that really what watching Chinese movies growing up was what made me want to go, even join the military to go see the world. And then my brother already lived in Japan, so he showed me pictures from over there. So I just got into kung fu movies, man. It's just too many to name. I mean, the actors were just great. The choreography was just wonderful. Like the sword play, all of the weapons they used, the chains with the size on the end of them, the actual size themselves, the swords they were using, the bow staff that were using. Man, it was just you can't duplicate that kind of action here in the States.
Hey, Stormy, and if I could just elaborate on that question, dude, answering that question, you make me feel it's like you asking me to pick like who's my favorite cousin or favorite auntie or something. That's how difficult it is, man.
Right. That's like me asking what was my favorite instrument to play, and I can't really tell you because I play
I
five.
love them all.
Hey, to answer Stormy question, I guess I had to go with it's so many, but Mystery of Chess Boxing, man. I can't go without watching that movie, man. That and Snake in the Monkey Shadow with John Chang, but Mystery of Chess Boxing because I
I'll go with.
love the villain. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kurt. I'll go with Fist of the White Lotus as my favorite. It's just the whole movie, the plot, fight scenes, everything in the movie is just. I can watch that movie all just like you said. You can. There's movies you can watch all day and wouldn't bother you watching. I can literally watch that movie 1,000 times over and wouldn't be mad about it.
Well, that's called White Lotus, correct?
Yeah.
What's
Okay, yeah,
that?
just making sure I had the same, just the same name, same movie, different name. Cult of White Lotus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I have
Mystery of Chess Boxing.
a favorite film from my favorite female kung fu film star, Angela Mao Ying, uh, which is it's it's Hapkido, and in Hapkido it's basically Fist of Fury,
Ooh, you make
with a woman
me.
starring in the role, because she ends up taking on a Japanese school at the end too. Huh? What was that, Will?
I can't hear him either, but you can keep going, Stormy.
No, I was just saying Angela Mao, in Hapkido. That's a great film. Lots of action in there. Lots of Samo is in there. Uh, a young Jackie Chan is as in there as an extra. A lot of fighting going on in there. A lot of fighting. Um, if nobody's seen that, maybe you guys should check it out, because it's definitely an old school basher along the lines of like Fist of Fury, the Japanese against the Chinese.
No, that's definitely just a good story plot. They played off that Japs versus Chinese, and that was just a classic movie.
Yeah, like It Man. The Toe was in It Man. I think which one? Two. I think he was in number
Yep, it
two,
was
if
two.
I'm not
It was
mistaken.
two.
It was two, right? Yeah,
Yeah, it was
Hey
two.
he
Will, if that's music you got playing in the background, you have to mute that out, bro.
No,
If
I don't
that's
have any
music
music
playing
on.
in
I
the
just got
background,
y'all
you got.
playing.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
okay,
driving.
okay.
I'll mute my mic though.
Yeah, the suggestion was from the chat where Reggie Owens was saying if you got music playing, just mute it, because YouTube is really tripping on people now and going after them for stuff they're not even doing. So we don't want to give them any bullets.
Cool. I always turn the music off just so that won't happen.
No,
So
Yeah.
that
I
was
ride
me,
with the
man. My
system.
stereo comes on by itself. That was me. I'm going to
Oh,
shut it
okay.
off. My
Sorry
bad.
about that. Okay, Kurt, you cool with it? Okay, good. Yeah. So Ramsey Shooting the Third says Eagle versus Silver Fox. Yeah,
That's the
that's a
one I was
good one
looking
right
for.
there.
That's the one.
Wang Ching Lee, man, that dude was bad from Korea, man.
Hey, Stormy, what's your favorite modern day martial arts movie or
My
martial
favorite,
arts actor?
my favorite modern day martial arts film, hands down, is it's a tie between Jet Li's Hero and also Jet Li's Fearless. Those two films were very well done for modern day Hong Kong action. I really loved them. A little more wire work than I would like to
Oh
see,
boy,
but they were great. Huh? What was that?
some Tiger Hidden Dragon.
Yeah, you good, Storm. You keep going.
Yeah. Now Hero. What I loved about Hero, it had that flavor of I forget the other film where they tell you the story from different vantage points. And that was kind of like that whole thing about Hero because you saw the story through different colors. One color was from certain person's point of view, another color was from a certain person's point of view, then another color was the truth and all of that. I think they did that very well. And the action was very good, and the story was very good. Uh, Fearless was a well done modern martial arts film. Jet Li did his best, one of his best performances there. And again, it was based on the legendary Folk Young Gap. And they found real martial artists and real swordsmen and weapons people to play opposite him in that. And it showed because the quality of the choreography was above, normal. Fearless was awesome, and I think that was one of Jet Li's best performances. Fearless.
Same question to the rest of y'all, you guys. What's y'all favorite modern day martial arts film or martial arts actor or actress? Since y'all muted, I'll tell y'all mine. I'm in between Fearless and IP Man, all because of the storyline behind both of the movies. And both of them had great action, great fight scenes. Donnie, he has grown to be one of my favorite martial artists. And then, like, if I had to place a third one, I'll use Michael Jai White because the series with him and what's his name, Atkins,
The Undisputed.
Scott, yeah, Scott Atkins when he's playing Boyka and
Yeah, Undisputed.
yeah, that's some great fighting. I can watch that movie over and over again. It's just certain movies, just man. I mean, good God, it's just so many good kung fu martial arts movies that's out. It's just hard to pick a favorite.
As far as my favorite modern day martial arts film actor, it's got to be Donnie Yen, hands down.
Oh,
Donnie
I agree.
Yen has
I
really
agree with
come
that.
into his own, but he has done some particularly special type of work because in his choreography he has incorporated a little MMA in there, and he's brought it like grounded it, martial
Yeah.
arts plus street fighting, and he's done some great stuff. If you want to see a wonderful film by Donnie Yen, and Sammo Hung is also in there playing the bad guy, check out SPL, Chapo Lang, SPL. Man, what a film that is. That is an awesome movie. There's a fight scene that takes place in an alley between Donnie Yen and what's that boy's name? Uh, can't think of his name right now. That But Donnie Yen, they're fighting in the alley, and he's using a beta stick. He's using a beta stick against dude's hand butterfly knives. Dude, it's awesome. I tried to tell Kurt about it. I don't know if Kurt ever got around to watching that scene because I told him the scene is on YouTube, but you have to check out the whole film in its entirety. It's really a great film.
You
SPL.
talk about when they were fighting in the alleyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. I got around to it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
Oh, it was awesome. It's a great scene. You know, when you have a scene where everything goes right, man, you know, it's a blessing. You know, but I didn't see the whole movie, but one of my modern day movies was a movie called Chocolate about a special needs of a female. Anybody ever see that? Chocolate?
Yeah, I have that in my collection.
Great movie. Yup. I love that movie.
Yeah, she was sitting up watching. She was sitting up watching Bruce Lee movies, and she was able to imitate. She was able to imitate everything she see on film. You know, Chocolate. That was awesome, man. And there was a nice way to work that in there because she was autistic, and being autistic, she could pick up things, and she learned how to fight by watching movies and stuff. You know.
Yep.
Yeah, Derek Bailey say, is she autistic? Yeah, in the movie Chocolate, the girl is supposed to be autistic. That was where her talent was. And she watched fighting movies and stuff, and she watched Bruce Lee films and some other films, and that's where she learned to fight by imitating what she saw in the movies.
But you mentioned a guy because I stepped away, but I heard you mention Wang Chang Lee, man. Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah,
That
what
dude,
an action star, right?
yeah, man. That dude, a Korean guy born in Japan, but he played in a movie called Eagles Killer. He played in Dance of the Drunken Mantis as Rubber Legs. That's a hell of a movie right there. Because his student was the
Drunken
very
Matters
talented
was a
Corey
good one.
Young.
Yeah, yeah. Wang Chun Li was man, I kind of wish like Bruce Lee had lived a little longer so he could play opposite him because they were the two type of martial artists that could have really gelled well on the screen. And Wang Chun Li, he had power and swiftness and everything, great timing in his fighting scene. Looking at him, you know he could do what he do for
Hey,
real.
hey, Storm, I got a question. What was the name of that movie that Bruce Lee? I think it was Bruce Lee fought Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan was
Well,
wearing
Bruce
a
Lee didn't
suit.
really
It
fight
was
Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan was an extra in a couple of his films, and they spent a split second on the screen together in Enter the Dragon in the dungeon scene where the guard jumps up and grabs Bruce Lee from behind, and Bruce Lee breaks out of it and breaks his neck. That was Jackie Chan.
what was that? I'm thinking of a movie. It had Jackie Chan in it, and I think it had another big martial arts superstar in it. And Jackie Chan in the movie had on a blue suit. It was a powder blue suit he fought in, and they were in a like a restaurant or somewhere, and they were fighting, and it was a great fight sequence. I can't think of it now. The more I think of it, the more I lose the name of it. What's the name of that movie?
I would have to think about that for a minute because Jackie's films don't stand out to me. And it's funny because I have a lot of his films, but I don't have
The
all of
Legend of
his
the Drunken Master
films.
don't stick out to you, bro.
What's that?
The Legend of the Drunken Master don't stick out to you.
No.
Jackie Chan
And
was great in that movie, bro.
I think what makes me not like Legend of the Drunken Master as much as everyone else is like I know what went on behind the scenes of the film.
Oh, okay, okay.
See, in that film, Jackie Chan hired Lau Kar Young to choreograph the movie and also direct it. And Lau Kar Young wanted Jackie to be more disciplined in his kung fu technique on screen. He didn't want Jackie to do all the wild cowboy stuff and mix it in with some kung fu. He wanted him to be more precise in his kung fu technique. And Jackie got upset with him because Jackie was a big star at this time, right? And so Jackie
Yeah.
was like, I'll direct the movie myself. So he
Wow.
actually killed off Lau Kar Young's character early in the film. And if you remember, they had a little fight scene under the train and stuff with the spear and the sword and stuff. That was Lau Kar Young. And Lau Kar Young, who was also nicknamed Pops from the Shaw Brothers and in the Hong Kong film industry, had a lot of respect. And here is Jackie as a young upstart, not wanting to do what the director and choreographer is asking of him because it's not like he couldn't do it. He just didn't want to do it.
Oh,
And
okay.
so
He's
it
arrogant.
brought the level of the film down as far as I'm concerned. You know, he didn't perform at the level that he could have. Now the film went on to still to make great box office and everything, but I just didn't like how Jackie disrespected Pops
Right.
when he
Right.
had a chance of a lifetime to work with such a legendary choreographer and well respected person in the film industry. And that was
Right.
when Jackie was really full of himself and stuff like that. And, you couldn't tell him nothing. So, and even Jackie now looks back at that and kind of kicks himself in the butt about it because he realizes that he was being very immature.
That makes sense. That makes plenty of sense.
And Derek Bailey says, yes, he died a few years ago. Yeah, Pops died a few years ago. I think he died in 2007 or something like that. He died from cancer, but he had a tremendous career in the Hong Kong film industry and a well-respected martial artist, Sifu, and he discovered a lot of talent for the industry over there. Pops did. You guys got quiet on me, and it seemed like Kirk dropped off. I don't know if
Yeah,
Kirk's
I
phone
think
ran out or something, but
Kurt
Hyphy, you got something to say, bro?
I'm sorry, I was over here. I was getting some directions. No, man. Just some real good talk as far as like the kung fu. I know you guys kind of been all over the place. I've been quiet for a little bit. Um, so what are we on? Just like certain actors now, or we just
No,
yeah,
no,
still
you
talking
no.
about just any
If
movies?
there's anything you want to bring in, I think Kirk fell off. I don't know. Maybe he dropped off. His phone went dead or something. But we just, we got a few minutes left here. You got some things you want to add on or talk about? We got a moment.
Oh, yeah. Well, sure. I just want to adjust the chat and just I guess kind of emphasize on just watching these movies. I'm telling y'all, if y'all just getting tired of boxing or anything, just watch some of these movies. These is classic movies that we telling y'all, and it's a lot of movies that were listed in the stream. It's a lot of movies that y'all can check on.
Mm-hmm.
As far as us, another movie that I like, and I just want to bring out there, the Hot, Cool, and Vicious. That's definitely one of my favorite movies. Another one of my favorite movies. I want to see some good stick fighting. Invincible Shaolin sticks. That's another one.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, if you want to see some good stick fighting, we done named a lot of movies, man. I know this is overload, but it's crazy.
Right.
We didn't watched a lot of movies.
But I can remember all the movies that's been brought up though.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah.
remember. I can remember the exact place I was at when I watched the movie, and a lot of them I remember in my pop's house, in my mom and my dad's house, and my grandfather's house. I used to just always watch kung fu movies. Me and my dad would always watch them. When my dad got off work, we watched kung fu movies. And he'd go, and we had this this video store, like I told you the other night, Hyphy. We had this video store called Hometown Video. They had nothing but martial art movies. And my dad would go and rent like 9 to 10 of those joints. We just sat in the living room with that VHS player and watched nothing but kung fu movies. Just kung fu overload. And then that Saturday afternoon, here comes that midday matinee, and you watching another great kung fu movie too, man. Man, that's nostalgia right there, bro.
Yeah. If Lala D is still out there in the chat, she wanted to know some titles, to watch, and I made a personal top 10 list of my favorite kung fu films, and I'm going to read these titles off, and I want you guys who are interested, who haven't had a chance to divulge into some of these kung fu titles, please look some of these films up on your own, and we'll revisit this at another time, and you guys can let us know what you think. But and this is in no particular order, but just 10 of my favorites, and I had already mentioned a couple of them. My personal perennial top 10 kung fu films: King Boxer, also known as Five Fingers of Death; Fist of Fury, which I talked about earlier with Bruce Lee; The Secret Rivals with John Liu, Wong Ching Lee, and what's the other guy's name? I can't think of his name. Derek Bailey, help me out, bro.
What? Secret Rivals?
Secret Rivals, yeah.
Not Don Wong Tao, huh?
One, there you go. You see, because I
Yeah.
got so much information going through my head right now, I can't think of everybody's name right off the top of my head at this moment. So yeah, Secret Rivals, uh, 36 Chambers of Shaolin, which we talked about, and Lala D said she saw that one already. Another Jackie Chan film that we didn't get a chance to talk about yet, Drunken Master, The Odd Couple. Okay, The Odd Couple stars Sammo Hung and Lau Kar Young, and those two guys are weapons experts who are fighting each other over the years. They're old men, okay, and they're fighting each other. One is a sword expert, and the other is a spear expert. And so they decide, since every time they fight, they end in a draw. So they said they're gonna find some young students to carry on their battle, right? And so when they do that, they play one another's students as a young guy. So Samo as a young guy is Lau Kar Young's student, and Lau Kar Young as a young guy is Samo's student. And so they switch up the weapons. They're using the opposite weapons than that the teachers used. So that means that both guys can use both of these weapons to masterfully. So it's a great film. It's full of comedy, but it's some of the best weaponry you will ever see choreographed. The Odd Couple, a wonderful film. I mentioned earlier also Seven Blows of the Dragon. We mentioned Chinese super ninjas, and we mentioned Five Deadly Venoms. And I had also earlier mentioned Legend of a Fighter. So those are my top 10. If anybody else want to, give a list or give a few titles, you don't have to give a top 10, but I just had that kind of prepared to throw out there on my own.
I mean, I got knocked off. My son called me, say his brother and sister was messing with him, But anyway, my top 10, mystery of chess boxing, no particular order. Snake and the Monkey Shadow, Chinese Super Ninjas, Execution of Shaolin, uh, Magnificent Ruffians, Five Deadly Venoms, uh, The Master Killer, Fist of the White Lotus, Life Gamble. I really like that movie. Deadly Mantis, 60 Second Assassin, The Victim, The Eight Daggers. Yeah, that's about it. I can go on all night. But those are a few of my favorites. You know, I don't know how many I gave y'all, but you know, those are highly recommend those movies. Absolutely. And Return to the 36th Chamber as well.
Okay, Hyphy, what you got? Hyphy, you there? Or you busy? What about you, Will? You there? You got something to recommend?
Now, my bad. I got it's like I'm driving, so it's like a lot of background noise at certain moments. But as far as just like some more favorite movies.
Yeah, well, some that you could recommend to our people out here in the chat that want to check out some good kung fu.
Yeah, okay. I know I'm gonna throw out one. You know, it's pretty obvious. I know not everybody's a big fan, but look, if you want a movie that is funny, yeah, Drunken Master is definitely funny. So if you want a funny movie, that's definitely one. Um, a movie that has like a lot of just to me like a lot of good fighting scenes in it would be Seven Steps of Kung Fu. Of course, you cannot watch Kung Fu without watching 36 Chambers of Shaolin. I think like a very entertaining movie would be Chinese Super Ninjas, aka Five Elements. Uh, Oh yeah, and of course, since we all love the women, I love Lady Whirlwind from that's Angela Mao, the lady that I usually use in my pictures. Stormy, I want you to throw out. Yeah, I want both of you guys to throw out like I guess kind of like a romantic movie. We got to do it. We got some women listening. We got to do it.
You want me to do what now?
I said recommend like a love movie or like kind of like a romance movie type.
Okay, one right off the top of my head that that I mentioned earlier in this chat is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, because Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is dealing with love on several different levels. On the martial level, it's dealing with the love for the sword, the skill, and the martial way. The next level that it's dealing with is the love of talent that a teacher, a Sifu, recognizes in a student. And that's Chow Yun Fat character over the young lady who covets his sword, the green destiny sword. And then thirdly, the level of love that is suppressed and that is not openly shown, but it's a lot of tension there between Chow Yun Fat and the character of Michelle Yeoh, because they were they were brothers and sisters in arms, but apparently she had a husband who died or something, but they do have feelings for each other. And just toward the end of the film, you begin to realize these things to reveal themselves. So it's like, wow. So the film has a great romanticism about it, surrounded by great action and great storytelling and pretty good choreography. The other film that I would like to recommend is a Korean film. It's called Bishunmu, Dance with Sword. Now, Bishunmu is a film that was made in the early 2000s, and when you watch it visually, it's like a Japanese anime, but it's about two warring factions that are like looking to kill one another as families. But there's a guy on one side and a female on the other side who have fallen in love, but they can't be together because their families are warring. And this film is extremely emotional. It has great action and great. Somebody needs to go on mute. Hyphy, go on mute. And it has great choreography, great almost like ninja like choreography. Be Shunmu, Dance with Sword. It's an excellent film. I guarantee anyone out there who watches that film would enjoy it. Anyone. Is that it? Nobody
Oh
has
yeah, yeah. No,
anything to
my
say?
apologies. I was parking. I'm sorry about that. Um, yeah, yeah. I want you to throw out some type of recommendation like that though, because like I said, there's like you got a different type of audience watching. You might have some women that want to watch, and on top of that, it's just not all of these movies, even though they contain fighting, there's always a different type of plot regarding these movies. So every one of these movies is cool because you get a plot, and on top of that, you get some good fighting. So none of these movies are lacking action at all.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then there's a few Shaw Brothers films that have a romanticism about them as well. And what I would like to do is at another time we can come back and revisit this. This doesn't have to be the only kung fu chat we have, but we could actually start going over the genres of the film within the entire genre, because you have what's called comedy kung fu. Then you have like what's called like they call it shapes. Those are the various styles, films that they show off styles, whether it's animal styles or certain kind of styles, fist style, snake style, all of that. Then they have other parts that fit into that, where you could go into only weapons, the weapons films. And there is many levels to the kung fu film. That's why today's show and talking about it, it was like an icebreaker. Us getting on here and being able to chat it up about kung fu films. There's so much, and we were all over the place a little bit. But the thing about it is, that's the depth of where we could go, and we could go so much further and so deeper. And I would like to explore that again in the future. Um, I am Will. You got anything you want to say?
You call me Stormy?
Yeah, I
Oh, I'm
was
sorry. I
asking
just
you.
walked back in the house. I'm
You got
sorry.
anything else you want to say about the kung fu films
Oh
before we
man,
start to wrap things up?
yo, I'm about to watch that one. Matter of fact, the two that y'all talking about, Chocolate and SPL. About to watch them again tonight. That's what's gonna be on the plan tonight. I'm telling y'all, when y'all get into these Chinese movies, man, I'm telling you, anything the Shaw Brothers touched was gold, pure gold, man. Anything they touched was pure gold. You can't go wrong with any Shaw Brothers movies. I mean, if you don't even know any Shaw Brothers movies, Google them. It'll direct you to all of their movies. They had over 960 films.
Yeah, and there also another part of the genre is the gambling films. They have great gambling kung fu films that are centered around gambling. And believe it or not, it's like, yeah, they be in them casinos and there's stuff going down, the triads and everything. It's really good stuff. So the rebellion films where they were changing, trying to overthrow governments and stuff like that, those films exist. There is a rich plethora of more in the genre that we could cover in a future time. What about you, Kurt? You got something you want to say about that?
I just just want to say, the love for kung fu movies. I'm glad we had this chat. We'll have part two. We could just go on and on about kung fu movies, man. They my love. As a kid, I'm glad I experienced the love of martial arts and seeing martial arts movies, and I was able to get all these films on DVD. You have YouTube platforms. So, hey, man, that is great, man. It's just great to have this chat. Thanks, chat, for coming in and spending your time with us. We greatly appreciate it, man, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hyphy, you got some last words there, bro?
Yeah, I was glad I was able to, come back in just in time. Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody that hung around because I know it's some people who don't know anything about these movies. But you guys just stood around and listened because this is a passion that the brothers on this panel share. y'all got to understand we are like in love with kung fu and addicted to kung fu. So we thank y'all for just listening and just hearing us out as we express our passion for kung fu. And if I could just ask everybody to, I hope y'all could write down about 3 of these movies that you guys heard tonight and just like watch them. But please at least just give one of these movies a try. And that's what I want to ask you guys to, just throw out like, I mean, just everybody in the chat to do at least watch one of these movies so y'all can see what we're talking about. Y'all seen 78 came on tonight. It wasn't even expressed. And so, yeah, if 78, could do it and y'all know how cool 78 is, just try one of these movies out, man. I promise y'all will love them. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hyphy, thank you for that important tidbit there that even 78 came on to chop it up with us for a few minutes about the love of kung fu films. So that tells you right there how many rivers that these films cross with people, and it's all a live wire to all of us because guess what we have in common? We all love that sport of boxing too. So there's something about the beauty of physical exertion, the the human body in motion. We like it, we love it. And kung fu films is just another venue and another outlet that we have where we can see these things take place. Um, I am Will. Give us some final words, brother.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you to you, Mr. Stormy B, man. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity yet again to grace one of your epic, knowledge-filled streams, bro. Hey, salute to the chat. Salute to the mighty LDBC and kung fu movies has really been a huge part of my childhood, and I can't get enough of it. Once you get into it, it's like a drug that keeps keeping you in there. And there's so many movies to choose from. Whether you're one of those ones that like to see a lot of action, or some that like to see a plot then action, or some that just like to see a plot. Like let's see, what's a good movie with a good plot but not really too much fighting? um, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That one really had a good bit of fighting in it, but it had a big. But yeah, salute to you guys, and once again, I am Ill Will. I just appreciate the opportunity, man. You guys, y'all have a good night. I'm gonna check on out of here, man.
And before you close this out, Stormy, I'm gonna just say to everybody, if y'all like I said, y'all gonna complain about these fights and stuff, get off these fights, go watch one of these movies.
Yeah, that's true because we have truly shared some nuggets with you guys tonight. And I want to thank everyone who came in late. I want to thank everyone who hung in with us the entire show. And I want to thank everyone who was able to stop by and bounce in and out, including the general himself, 78 Sports TV. He came by to talk Kung Fu with Stormy B Man and his panel. So that lets you know right there, there's something good going on with that. So with much love that everybody that hung with us tonight, please smash the like button on your way out. Check out some of this good Kung Fu fare. And we will be doing this again, but this was just a special edition of the Friday Night Chop Session, the Kung Fu edition. And we hope to see you guys again soon. Don't forget that tomorrow morning, Kurt Sugar, Scrapbook Boxing, and myself will have the Three Wise Men of Boxing show, 10 a.m. Central Time. And we will be talking more about the sport of boxing. We have a very special topic for you tomorrow, so please tune in and check it out. Um, and as far as for this evening's show, this is all that we have for you this evening. I want to thank everyone for hanging with the Stormy B Man channel this evening. My subscribers are almost at 200. I think I need 3 to get to 200. So if you could do Stormy B Man, that's solid, and just Subscribe to the station. We'll give you more great content as we go forward. And we look to see you again very soon. All right. So this is me on behalf of the entire panel that joined us this evening. Hyphy, I am Will, Kurt Sugar, and my man 78. Shout out to the LDBC, Lions Den Boxing Community. This is Stormy B Man checking out, and we're saying peace.
Peace.